The Pacific Northwest, a place where its beauty is as limitless as its forests. But in the midst of one of nature's masterpieces lies a hidden calamity, the slow disappearance of the Oregon silver-spot butterfly. The Oregon silver-spot butterfly is a native medium-sized butterfly and is characteristically colored orange and brown.
The silver-spot butterfly is it's listed as a threatened species. It's really critically rare. There's only a couple of populations that are viable.
The Federal Endangered Species Act of 1973 defined two classifications of plants and animals that need protected. Endangered species are those that are currently on the brink of extinction, whereas threatened species are likely to become at risk for extinction in the foreseeable future. The Oregon silver-spot butterfly's natural habitat are large tracts of coastal prairies pocketed along the coasts of California, Oregon, and Washington. In the year 1998, the silver-spot butterflies experienced a gigantic population crash. This prompted the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service partnered with the Oregon Zoo to start a restoration project and create a population supplementation program through the zoo to help promote population growth and reintroduction of the butterflies to healthy, sustainable ecosystems.
The Oregon silver-spot butterfly is sort of a keystone or indicator species for coastal prairie, which for the most part has been destroyed through various means along the coast, whether it's development or an invasive species.
The Institute for Applied Ecology got involved about 5 years ago. We were invited onto the project to help provide guidance for how to sort of execute the steps associated with prairie restoration.
Their primary goal is to convert the degraded prairies from the non-native pasture grasses that have come and invaded the prairies back to the native coastal grasses to help create a more complex, natural ecosystem which will support the Oregon silver-spot butterfly.
What we're doing on the ground here reflects our best available understanding of how to approach this process. As far as prairie restoration on the Oregon coast goes, many of the existing projects prior to this have been small scale.
So this National Wildlife Refuge was actually a dairy for many years, and it's former coastal prairie here as far as we can understand. When it was a dairy, it was completely grazed and it was covered by invasive pasture grasses, which make great dairy forage, but it's a very limited plant species-wise, and so it does not make a good complex ecosystem for any kind of species like the Oregon silver-spot butterfly.
Before looking any further, we must understand the difference between a healthy coastal prairie and an unhealthy one.
Coastal prairie is an uncommon ecosystem in Oregon. So our focus here is to try to harbor more of that diversity in this restoration project so that we can incorporate as many of those variables as we can to create a more sustainable system here.
We can look at maybe increasing nectar plants in certain areas. And then the same is true for the violets. We've collected violet seed, and the idea is that now we have some local seed stock that we can use for restoration projects.
Unhealthy coastal prairies are riddled with invasive species that take over and kill off the native plants that animals native to the prairie need in order to survive.
The number one issue of invasive species, they are really aggressive, and for the most part they're not fulfilling a particular role in maintaining a complex prairie. If you look at an invasive species like reed canary grass or a thistle, they'll just take over a site because they're not a native.
So like most butterflies, silver-spot butterflies have very specific plants that they depend on for different parts of their life cycle. And for silver spots, there are a couple of main species. The blue violets, early blue violets, are species which the larvae require for survival. It's the only thing that the larvae eat. And so they tend to lay their eggs near violets so that when they wake up They're near violets, and they basically eat violet leaves.
Our tool is to use the dogs to help us find that data. Dogs are usually trained to find the scat of animals, and by looking for the scat left by different animals that we're researching, we're able to analyze that scat at the University of Washington's laboratory facility at the Center for Conservation Biology. And we're able to get some incredible information from the scat left by the animal.
But these dogs are more than just a lovable ball of fluff. They are vital to finding caterpillars to help us learn about them and monitor their progress.
We have 21 dogs in the program right now. The dogs range in age between 2 years and 12 years. We're not specific on what breeds we select for the program. We're just looking for any dog that loves to play ball.
One of the things that must be done is taking care of the invasive grasses to allow natural plants like the early blue violet to grow. One of the methods for doing so is the use of herbicides.
Sometimes we'll use an herbicide to kill all the invasive species that are there on a site, and then it's extremely important to replace with native species that we want to be there, because if you just kill the invasive species and you don't immediately replace it, you're going to be right back where you started.
Outside of the breeding season, we came in with some machinery and basically removed the salal and other vegetation on the periphery of the meadow to open up new habitat where the violets could expand into, and then also create some corridors between a couple of the meadows because there's not always connectivity between those meadows. So where possible, in a few places we've tried to create some of that connectivity.
We're going to need more eyes on the ground, looking at the effectiveness of those efforts and helping us to sustain those in the long term.
The ornate Oregon silver spot butterfly, the rolling coastal prairies in their magnificence. These are small jewels in the crown of the Pacific Northwest, but if missing, causes it to lose some of its vibrant luster. They must be protected, sustained, polished, so that it all can work together cohesively with the rest of nature to allow her beauty to be exhibited to its fullest potential.